I'm Chris Bryant, CCIE number 12933, and welcome to the second part of our look at route redistribution for the CCNA and CCNP exams, and also for the real world, because redistribution between OSPF and RIP is fairly common, and we need to know some little details about redistribution that some study guides and other documentation don't show you. So we're going to do this live in just a moment, and as we saw in part one of this series, which is available on YouTube and on my website, by the way, if you want to go out and watch that one first. We have an existing OSPF adjacency between routers 1 and 3. We also have a RIP network running over routers 1 and 2 on another segment. Now, both routers 2 and 3 have 3 loopbacks, and loopbacks are fantastic for creating extra networks in home lab environments. And that's just what we've done here. We're advertising 3 loopbacks into RIP on router 2. We're advertising 3 other loopbacks on router 3 into OSPF. So router 1, as we saw, that router is going to see all of those particular networks. And you can see here at the top of the routing table, we've got 3 OSPF routes that it's learning from router 3. And we also see 3 RIP routes as well. But as we also saw, and we'll review quickly here, on router 2 is not going to see router 3's loopbacks. And the same goes, router 3 is not going to see router 2's loopbacks because there is no automatic redistribution between OSPF and RIP. So we're going to configure that redistribution here, and we're going to configure two-way redistribution. I mentioned a couple of things in the first video, some facts about redistribution, but here's another one for you. On occasion, you may just want to take routes from, say, protocol A and put them into protocol B, but you don't have to do it from protocol B to protocol A. It depends on your topology. That's what we call one-way route redistribution, so it doesn't always have to be mutual, but here we are going to configure mutual route redistribution or two-way route redistribution, and we're going to start by taking those RIP routes, and let's take a look at the RIP routing table here on router 1 with show IP route RIP. And right there we see the 3 RIP routes that we want to appear on router 3. So what we're going to do is go under the router OSPF1 process, and we're going to redistribute both the directly connected networks and the RIP networks into OSPF. So what happens if we just say redistribute connected? Because remember, there is a network in there on router 1 on the other side that is not a RIP route, but that 172.12.0.0 network, we want router 3 to know about that as well. So if I hit enter there, I get a message, only classful networks will be redistributed. So this is a legal command, but if you are not getting the redistribution results you think you should be getting, as in you're not seeing subnets, it's because you didn't use the subnets option on the end of redistribute connected, or redistribute anything when it comes to OSPF. We really want to include this. Subnets. Consider subnets for redistribution into OSPF. So we're going to put subnets there. And then the same thing would happen if I put redistribute RIP and then hit enter. It's going to say only classful networks will be redistributed. So I'll use Control A to move to the front of that line, take that command off, and then put in redistribute RIP subnets. Now notice that I put no default metric or anything like that here when I put the RIP routes into OSPF. So we're going to go down to router 3 now and see if the redistribution is successful. And also see what we get. Now you can see that we've got 4 new routes in router 3's routing table. We've got those RIP routes that we saw router 1 had, and we also have this directly connected network that router 3 wouldn't have known about otherwise. Notice the E2. That's the default for a route redistributed into OSPF. It's going to be marked E2. Also notice the metric here. That's our default metric for a redistributed route. It's 20. And of course we know this is the AD for OSPF, and that's 110. So that's the detail you have to watch out for when you're redistributing routes into OSPF. Watch out for this, because whether it's on an exam or it's in the real world, if you're not getting the results you think you should be getting, or you're only getting classful networks, you're not getting your subnets, it's because you left the subnets option off. And like I said, it's a legal command like this. You saw that the router accepted that, but we would not get the results we want, and especially as your network gets larger. The one reason we want those subnets to be in the routing table. So those are the details we have to watch out for when we're taking RIP routes and connected routes, as we saw, and redistributing them into OSPF. We also saw the default metric, the default seed metric, and also the default code there, E2, which is an OSPF external type 2 route. Now we're going to go back to router 1 and redistribute those OSPF routes into RIP in the third and final part of this video. I want to invite you out to the website as always, www.thebryantadvantage.com. Over 250 free Cisco tutorials there at last count, videos, practice exams, daily practice exams on the blog, all kinds of great stuff. I'm Chris Bryant, CCIE number 12933, and I'll see you at the website.